to Nick Freeman, motoring lawyer, commentator and author. He's the founder of Freeman and Co Solicitors and has been dubbed by the media as Mr. Loophole. How are you doing, Nick?
Morning, Sonia. Morning.
Morning. Tell us then, what do you think about this change that the government are looking at in terms of the law around mobile phone usage? Does it go far enough?
It doesn't go nearly far enough, I'm afraid. I would actually say that the government are misleading the public in a very serious way. And I appreciate that's a serious accusation. And I'll tell you why I say that. As you've indicated, you say, well, look, as long as you're using your phone hands-free, that's fine, you're complying with the law. You're not. The moment you're involved in any form of accident which involves a fatality or serious injury, the police, the prosecution will not be the slightest bit concerned whether you're hands-free or handheld. They will look at, were you using your phone? And if you were, that will be very much an aggravating feature, a feature that will persuade them that you have been distracted. And there's been a lot of research in this area. And what the research shows, it's fascinating because it shows there's actually no difference in terms of distraction, whether you're hands-free or handheld. And actually, the level of distraction equates to the same level of distraction as when you're driving over the prescribed drink drive limit. So in effect, what we're talking about is a government saying, and let me point out, we have the highest drink drive limit of any EU country. So we have a government who on one hand says, yes, we're concerned with road safety. And on the other hand, saying, yes, it's fine for you to drive at a level where you're 4 times more likely to have an accident. And now they're tweaking the legislation, saying, in effect, it doesn't matter whether it's an interactive communication or an active communication, so long as you're hands-free. What they should be doing is saying no more use of mobile phones in vehicles, full stop. And that will ensure our roads are a great deal safer because it's an artificial distinction. But of course, it's not populist. It's not a vote winner and people are going to hate it. But I point out that, years ago, we managed quite successfully without phones in our cars, didn't we?
Well, this is it. And it's becoming, it's almost addictive in some ways to check things. But so in terms of the phone usage, they're looking to tighten it up, but you could still use it for sat-nav and things like that, could you?
Well, it's not clear at the moment whether they're saying you mustn't touch your sat-nav. I think they're going to say you cannot touch the sat-nav on your phone whilst you are mobile. And of course, we then have to decide whether you're mobile, do they mean driving? If you're driving your car, whether you're sitting in it, whether it's moving or whether it's stationary. So it isn't clear. And hopefully this anomaly will be clarified. I mean, there was a case, and it was a well-publicized case of a well-known comedian who was recording a joke. I actually conducted the case, and he was acquitted, even though he was using his phone, because I argued it wasn't an interactive purpose. And the legislation says it has to be an interactive purpose. So what the government are doing is they're getting around that, if you like, that lacuna, that loophole, that failing in the law. But they're not addressing the more serious problem. And as you've outlined, and all your listeners will think, well, as long as I'm hands-free, I'm okay. And that's a very dangerous message to send to any motorist because you really are not. And the number of people that unfortunately I have to look after who say, oh, I was involved in this terrible accident, and I just was momentarily distracted, but I was hands-free, so I'm all right, aren't I? And of course, they're then charged with a very serious matter. And, if you're charged with one of these serious matters, you're looking at potentially years in custody. Your life changes completely. And apart from that, it's just incredibly dangerous.
In terms of enforcing this, so if they are looking to change this, as we've been discussing, how easy is it going to be to actually enforce this?
Well, the answer is very difficult because, as you know, we rely on robotical policing. We've been assured by the government. I think there are going to be another 22,000 or 122,000. There are going to be a lot more police on our streets and roads, and I welcome that. I haven't seen them yet, except to tell you to socially distance. The reality is there aren't ever going to be enough police to police this properly. And as you say, it's addictive. You see people, if you're in your car, all the time doing it. So what I suggest is this. We need a sentence that polices itself. So if you say, look, using your mobile phone hands-free or handheld is as dangerous as drink driving, if you're convicted of drink driving, the minimum period for disqualification is 12 months. So wouldn't it be sensible to say, if you're caught using your mobile phone, bearing in mind it's exactly as dangerous as drink driving, just over the prescribed limit, instead of, they've increased the points from 3 to 6, it hasn't really touched the problem because people think I'm not going to get caught. Why not say you will be disqualified for 12 months? And in my opinion, that will eradicate this plague of misuse overnight. I think 95% of it, 95% of motorists are going to say, actually, I'm just not going to take that chance. It is not worth the risk. For me to be off the road for 9 months, 12 months, it is not worth it. And then you've got the enhanced insurance premiums and everything that's associated with it. They're just not going to do it. So, and it makes sense because it's just as dangerous. So that's what I would do. That's how I would get around that problem.
Nice to talk to you, Nick. Nick Freeman, the motoring lawyer, commentator and author, talking to us here on BBC Essex. Keen to hear